What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on Buysellcars TV. Super early morning today, and we are over here at Bridgewater, BCA to pick up a Volkswagen Polo. More specifically, we are saving a car today from the scrapyard. So all I know about this car that I'm picking up today is it's got no MOT and it's got an engine light on. So not off to the best of starts. So we're gonna have a little walk around the car park and see if we can find this Polo. It is quite old as well. I think it's a Y reg, so 2000 or 2001 car. Bit of a risky buy in that respect as well, but the mileage is very, very good. And I quite like the shape of these quirky Polos. I've just found the car over here. Let me turn the camera around and show you this Volkswagen Polo. Right, so the exterior of the car, how are we looking? It doesn't actually look too bad necessarily. It just needs a good old clean. There's a lot of sort of, you know, moss or whatever. I don't even want to touch it just yet, but a bit of dirt and grime just building up around there. I guess we've got some paint flaking on the bumper trim over there. It is a Y reg car. You can see the number plate itself probably needs replacing. That could borderline be an MOT failure because it is slightly difficult to read. But generally, the condition of the bodywork is looking pretty good for the age of the car. Wing mirror is poking out, so someone's just got in their way and hit that. No big deal. Down the front as well, why are we looking? Again, there's just a lot of moss, to be honest, around the car. So it was probably parked near a tree, potentially over a long period of time, or maybe at their house where they kept the car. Something along those lines, but no big deal. Nothing we can't fix. That would all get cleaned up in a good old valet. The wing over here, it's looking a little bit sort of misty, slightly faded, but if I go over here, it's not too bad, to be honest, when you take into consideration the age of the car. Down over here, again, looking pretty good. I know it is a bit cramped, so you can't see everything in perfect condition, but still you get a nice idea of how it's looking. Yeah, definitely been parked around a tree or a green bush or something along those lines. So you can see a lot of the dirt coming through over here. However, once we get this car cleaned up, it is going to be looking very, very nice. A lot better than this car over here, shall I say. Let me show you the interior. Right, so first impressions, it's not actually that bad for its age, shall I say. Mileage is super low, 58,000 miles. It does need a valet. Carpet obviously over here, it's a bit, do you know what, actually under here is looking very, very clean. These are rubber mats, so they're very, very easy to clean, but the actual wear underneath is looking pretty good. The seat itself as well is actually good in terms of the condition, just needs a little bit of a clean, but the same on this side over there. And we have got some paperwork potentially over there, so it's either a handbook, but sometimes you get lucky and there is a bit of paperwork in there. Over at the back, how's it looking? Pretty clean in my opinion. So I think we're onto a bit of a winner at the moment. A little bit of trim potentially over there missing, but I'll look into that later on. So let me check the oil, let me check the water, and then we're going to jump in and get this car started. Oil's looking good, water is looking good as well, sitting just between minimum and maximum. I can't see anything out of the ordinary under here, so it's looking pretty damn good, to be honest, especially for the age. However, we need to jump in and get it started to see how it sounds, because that is the important thing. See how it sounds and see how it runs. So let's jump in now. All right, so we've got the ignition on. We've got a lot of fuel in the car, which is looking good, just under 3/4 of a tank. EPC engine as normal. Inspection service light is on, so that's not a big thing. We'll get that sorted, but let's get it started. Engine has started good, compression sounds fine. However, it does sound like the exhaust is blowing, so that could explain why the engine management light is on. But other than that, sounding pretty good. So I'm going to give it a couple of minutes, let the car idle, let it get to temperature, and just to make sure that we haven't got any issues with any misfires or the car cutting out, etc. So as we've got a long drive back, it's better to check these things whilst the car is here rather than have any problems on the roads. As I said, just sounds like the exhaust is blowing. Kind of a good thing because it does explain why the engine management light could potentially be on. So when it does go for MOT, probably will fail on the exhaust, but hopefully it's nothing major. Hopefully it's not a catalytic converter or anything along those lines. But let's get the camera set up inside and let's take this one back home and see how it's driving. Right, we're ready to roll. So let's see how this clutch is. That exhaust is really loud. Clutch seems pretty good. Little bit heavier than what I'm probably used to, but then again, I'm in and out of so many cars, so things do feel a bit different, but the biting point is okay, which is the main thing. Brakes feel fine, steering feels okay. Second gear. So if we've got a second gear, we can probably just about scrape it home. But yeah, that exhaust is definitely going to be a failure on the MOT because it is blowing quite loud. Hopefully it's not too loud on the motorway, because that would be annoying on this 100-mile drive back. But we shall see how things are looking. Third gear seems to be fine. No misfires or anything along those lines. Brakes feel really good, to be honest. Brakes do feel nice. Right, let's pull out of this junction. Sounds like I'm in a 17-year-old's first car. Other than that, it drives really, really nice. Fourth gear, fifth gear. It is a bit drony with that exhaust, but it drives nice. That is the thing I do like about Volkswagen cars. You know, especially when they're lower miles, they really are well-built cars and they drive nice. Regardless of mileage, like I've had many Volkswagen Golfs and Polos, all spectrum of mileages, like from lows from 30,000 upwards to like 100 and I think, well, I had that Polo with 200,000 miles, if you guys have seen that video. If you haven't seen that video, I'll pop it in the description below, or I'll put a little link at the top so you can click there and watch that as well. But they really do drive very nice and they're well-built cars. This is a Y-Reg car with 58,277 miles, and it was destined for the scrapyard. Now, I don't like seeing a car go to the scrapyard if I think I can save it. So that is why I bought this car. You don't see them very often. It's a cool looking car, a cool shape, and Polos are always in demand. It's a nice first time buyer car. Yes, this is a little bit older and you will have more risk if you are buying something like this from auction, but I wanted to save it from the scrapyard. So as I said earlier, when I was bidding on this car, what did I know about it? Not a lot. So the bodywork wise looked okay, few little marks on there, but nothing too out of the ordinary for the age of the car. I knew the engine management light is on, so not necessarily the most sensible thing buying an old car like this with an engine light on, but at the same time, you do buy these cars and it's just this lambda sensor, or even if it is a misfire, it can just be a spark plug or a coil pack or ignition leads. They are basic engines, so there's less things to go wrong in that respect. So, and then I knew the car's got no MOT. It's only just expired, but looking from the advisories, it seemed like it would be a good car to some extent. You know, it's low miles, so I was willing to take the risk on that. Now, we don't know the extent of it yet. Yes, the car seems to be driving fine to some extent, but we don't know how things are looking from underneath. It could be a rot box, could be rust everywhere. So there is a big risk buying a car with no MOT, but like I said, it's a cool car. I wanted to save it from getting scrapped. So what are we going to need to get done to this car to bring it up to a good standard? Well, you're going to see all of it in the video. I'm going to document as much as possible so you get to see the full end-to-end process of how this car is now to getting it ready. So first thing I'm going to have to do is get it dropped off to the garage to see what the sketch is with getting this car through an MOT. Once we've got it MOT'd, we will know where we stand with this car. Now, the car was serviced a couple of thousand miles ago. I'll need to double check in the paperwork, but I think it was maybe around 50 odd thousand miles. But if it needs doing, I'm going to get that done, and obviously we'll talk about that later in the video if it does need doing. And then I'm going to get the valet guys to absolutely smash this one out of the park and make it look like new. All of that moss around the car is just really not helping it. So once that's all removed and, you know, polished up, the car will look a lot better. Interior wise, as I said, the condition is pretty good. There isn't actually a lot of cleaning necessarily needed to the upholstery, but as I do look down the side of the seats and on the carpets, there are things which will need to be, you know, scrubbed up. So it's well worth getting the whole car completely valeted just to make it look as good and as new as possible. So those are the main things which we are going to need to get done. Of course, we are already aware of the exhaust issue, which is probably going to be linked to the engine light, but I don't know yet. That's just me making an assumption. So as it stands, that's how the car is looking. It's driving well. We've got plenty of fuel in the car and about 100 miles to get back. So I'm going to get this one dropped off straight to the garage, and then we're going to pick up this video once we start working on this car, and I'm going to talk to you throughout the process so you get to see how this car is looking, how it's driving, and how much it's going to cost to get this one ready for sale. So stay tuned, guys.